The Avatar Cycle. As the Avatar reincarnates, it is generally assumed that the various avatars are different individuals yet also part of a continuum. Due to the nature of the reincarnation cycle, the Avatar can recall memories of past lives. This can be done directly or indirectly through deliberate meditation in order to connect with a specific past avatar or coming in contact with people or objects important in that past avatar's life. A previous incarnation of the avatar can also manifest through the current avatar by possessing their body. In this case, the summoned avatar will temporarily replace the appearance and abilities of the current incarnation. The past avatar's knowledge does not end with their death, nor is it dependent on what the current incarnation knows. But the reincarnation cycle can be broken if the avatar is killed while in the avatar state, or Raava, the avatar spirit, is removed from the avatar or severely injured. Raava was extracted from Korra and destroyed, with her connection to Wan and all the avatars after him lost forever because of this. She was, however, reborn shortly after and was able to merge again with Korra, restoring the avatar spirit and restarting the avatar cycle. Because of this, the creators describe Korra's lost connection to her past lives as rebooting your hard drive, which simply means the next avatar after Korra, potentially Avatar 2025, will not have access to Aang, Wan, Kyoshi, Roku, Kurik, none of the past avatars except for Korra, which I know there's a lot of Korra fans out there, but even you have to admit that is the hugest L any avatar could take in their start of their avatarhood, that they only have connections to one avatar. That, you know, I love Korra, but it's just dang, that sucks. That's gonna be a huge handicap for the next avatar. Gun was the avatar who lived during the Ru Ming era, long before Yang Chen's time. Avatar Gun had a close companion in Misose, a poet and engineer whom they nicknamed Seisei. The latter would write treatises, and Gun liked to read or listen to these texts. Over the course of their adventures, Gun grew increasingly disdainful of humanity. The Avatar felt that people would always demand more aid despite being ungrateful for the aid already given, while also repeatedly making the same mistakes over and over again. In such moments of doubt, Misose tried to calm Gun down. Eventually, Gun and Misose found themselves at the harbor city of Han when it was hit by a tsunami. Gun attempted to try and stop the natural disaster, but they could only weaken it. Large parts of Han were destroyed, and Misose died in the flood despite Gun's effort at saving the scholar. Devastated at this loss, Gun disappeared for an extended period of time before resuming their duties as the Avatar. Gun was recorded as failing to stop the tsunami at Han, even though the city survived and would eventually prosper again. Jetsun would speculate that Gun themselves had demanded that this incident be labeled as a failure of theirs, considering that they had lost Misose. Eventually, an 8-year-old Yang Chen possessed by Gun would relive the day when Misose died. About 9 years later, Gun again would possess Yang Chen as she was resting on a small island in the northern city. This time, Gun's disdain for humanity came to the fore as the long-dead Avatar implored their companion, mistaking Kavik for Misose, to tell them why the Avatar should care any longer about all the ungrateful and short-sighted humans. When Kavik could only offer hope in the betterment of humanity as a reason, Gun started to madly laugh until Yang Chen snapped out of the possession. Gun lived in the Ru Ming era, which was first featured as part of Wan Xingtong's calendar in the library. Based on the calendar system, Gun may have been a water avatar if the era names do indeed correspond to avatars. If Gun's Ru Ming era was the most recent one, then that means, as suggested by Siring's familiarity with the topic, they lived 3 avatar generations before Yang Chen. When Gun possessed Yang Chen, Kavik felt that the Air Avatar suddenly seemed decades older. If this impression correctly reflects Gun's age, they were at least in their 40s or 50s by the time of Misose's death.
The Lion Turtles, honorably referred to as the Ancient Ones by the spirits. They are the largest and oldest known animal in the world. In the era of Raava, lion turtles populated the spirit wilds, where they served as protectors of mankind by housing cities on their backs. As indicated by the symbols on their forehead, each individual lion turtle showed an affinity for one of the 4 elements and possessed the ability to grant individuals the power to control said element through energy bending. Energy bending is the ability to bend another person's life energy. It predates the 4 main bending arts, the formation of the 4 nations, as well as the creation of the Avatar. Before the Avatar came into existence and the separation of the 4 nations, the lion turtles bent the energy within humans and themselves in order to grant them the ability to bend one of the 4 elements. However, after the lion turtles renounced their roles as protectors of mankind, energy bending was no longer used to grant people bending, and the knowledge of energy bending was almost completely lost.
Avatar Salai. Not much is known about this avatar, except he was born within the Earth Kingdom, so he came right before Avatar Zeto. and he must have had a lot of achievements during his era, as he was remembered for being one of the greatest avatars. And Salai is the shortest known avatar, dying as so at an old age. But with the fact of him being known for being one of the best avatars, probably meant he had overwhelming strength to make up for it.
Makitok was a powerful waterbender from the Northern Water Tribe who lived during the era of Roku. She had a deep connection to the spirits, and from a young age, Makitok knew she was different, as she believed she was assigned the wrong gender at birth. When her family rejected her and her need to live openly as her true identity, she found solace in interacting with spirits, who understood her true self. She always felt isolated from others and was more in touch with the spirits than people. But she was still a kind woman, who often felt isolated due to others not always respecting her true identity. And Makitok was a very powerful waterbender, which, thanks to her deep connection with spirits, allowed her to develop an exceedingly rare technique to calm spirits, aka spirit bending, which she developed as the spirits became more and more agitated. And she lived near the edge of a large spirit forest and did her best to stop dark spirits from attacking Agnikela and other settlements.
Avatar Zeto was the Fire Nation avatar preceding Avatar Yangchen, living in an era of immense crisis that threatened to destroy the Fire Nation. Zeto saved his home country by becoming a bureaucrat, diplomat, and an accountant in service of Fire Lord Yosor. Eventually rising to Grand Advisor, Zeto greatly strengthened the Fire Nation's government, restored economic balance, and set up programs to aid the poor and needy. Zeto was an ideal for all Fire Nation officials to live up to, and a shining example of Fire Nation values in general: efficiency, precision, and loyalty. Zeto had great bending powers, but even greater than that, administrative skills. In addition, he was regarded as a highly talented public speaker, a skill which helped him at becoming a flexible diplomat. Beyond these publicly displayed abilities, Zeto was also a master at espionage and deception. Amon, born as Nautak, was the charismatic and mysterious leader of an anti-bender revolutionary group known as the Equalists. Their ultimate goal was to introduce equality for all by permanently ridding the world of benders. A nimble, agile, and stealthy fighter, Amon was fearless in facing his opponents regardless of their powerful bending skills and abilities. Amon was a highly powerful waterbending master. His brother Tarlok noted that he had never encountered a bender as strong as Amon. From a young age, Amon was a waterbending prodigy and excelled under the tutelage of his father Yakone. Amon just as quickly mastered the rare and outlawed art of bloodbending, becoming exceptionally proficient and powerful at a young age. Despite growing fascinated by this skill, he ultimately desired more, wanting to have the power to remove people's bending, just as Avatar Aang had done to his father with the use of energy bending. He eventually succeeded in this goal by using his mastery of bloodbending to sever an individual's bending connection by blocking their active chi paths, effectively achieving the same results as energy bending. No medical intervention was effective in reversing this effect. And even Katara, a world-renowned healer and bloodbending expert in her own right, was unable to reverse its effects. The only known way to reverse Amon's bending block is through the use of energy bending, as demonstrated by avatars Aang and Korra. If there is an element that has not been unlocked, like Korra's dormant airbending, that element will not be nullified. Hundun is an earthbender that was born out of the game that was made canon by the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So all of his backstory and weird energy bending-like abilities were made canon too. Not only was Hundun a great earthbender in life, along with his conjoined brother, but they were also both a master in this weird dark energy using technique called Chaos Attack, which allowed them to rule for a while as kings before they were defeated by one of the incarnations of the Avatar. And being banished to the spirit world, they vowed revenge on the Avatar and also wanted to seek a way to gain immortality in the physical world. They came back and fought against Korra, but it did not go so well for them. They were defeated, but they'll still go down in history in the canon as one of the most powerful earthbenders.
Shortly after Kyoshi was revealed to be the Avatar, she joined a gang of criminals known as the Flying Opera Company. One of the gang's members was Lao Ji, an infamous assassin who taught Kyoshi about assassination and spirituality. However, Lao Ji's biggest claim to fame was his immortality. He asserted he had discovered the secret to immortality. Lao Ji claimed he extended his life by keeping order within his body. The aging process causes the body to fall out of order as individual parts begin to break down.
These small amount of damage and disorder adds up until the body eventually dies. To stop this from happening, all a person in the world of Avatar has to do is repair the damage and reorganize their body. The method Lao Ji used to repair his body was concentrated meditation. He took inventory of his body and simply put all of the small parts of himself that had fallen out of order back. Through sheer mental strength and focus, Lao Ji stopped his body from aging and gained a form of immortality. He could still be killed by another person or from enough physical damage, but he would never expire from old age alone. This method also means that a person's body will never change either. Their body will always stay in the state it is when they first start their inventory. As long as the inventory maintained, their body will remain stagnant forever. This would explain why Kyoshi's spirit appears youthful rather than elderly, like Avatar Roku, who died at an old age. The false Avatar, Yun, was the friend of Kyoshi and Rengi, and the earthbending pupil of Jianzu. Talented, charismatic, and handsome, he was misidentified as the new Earth Avatar after a long and difficult search. Following the revelation of Kyoshi's identity as the true Avatar, Yun was betrayed by Jianzu, who felt the boy's usefulness had been exhausted and allowed Father Glowworm, a dark spirit, to carry him off into the mountains. When Yun came to his senses, he realized that he was in the spirit world. Father Glowworm promised that part of him would achieve immortality by being subsumed into the spirit. Father Glowworm subsequently attacked Yun, who managed to resist for a considerable amount of time, managing to deflect the spirit's attacks with torrents of skillful earthbending, but at the last moment, raised the floor of the spirit grove with his raw strength and crushed the spirit. As Yun ate Father Glowworm's eyeball, he absorbed the spirit's essence and gained its power. Broken and enraged by the fact that he was not the true Avatar, Yun started a vengeful quest to kill all the bending masters and politicians who had lied to him about his avatarhood.
Avatar Yang Chen was an airbending master. Having achieved arrow tattoos at a young age, while in the Avatar state, she could form circular air currents strong enough to even move the sky. She continued to hone her airbending skills even after her formal training had ended. A signature technique she used was using her bending to raise her voice in order to attract attention to herself. She also knew the vile technique of removing air from a room in order to suffocate someone, though her pacifist philosophies meant that she only did this so someone would feel dizzy or pass out and always return the air before death could follow. Another bending ability that was unique to Avatar Yang Chen was bending-assisted screaming, powerful enough to deafen people at close range and create powerful blasts of wind. She developed through this a forbidden airbending technique where she could use her airbending to increase the pitch and volume of her voice, using it as a weapon. She once screamed so loud she shook the spirit oasis without being in the Avatar state. Zayshan was a princess of the Fire Nation and the sister of Fire Lord Sozin. She embraced air nomad philosophy and intends to swear off her earthly possessions in exchange for a life of austerity. She was born second in line to the Fire Nation throne, though showed no signs of firebending. Because of this, her parents and teachers pitted her against her brother Sozin to drive her brother to greater heights and to draw bending abilities out of Zayshan. So the two siblings fought for as long as they could remember. The struggles failed to transform Zayshan into a firebender though, and her teachers turned their focus entirely onto Sozin. Despite this, Zayshan refused to stop competing, studying, and growing, striving to prove herself worthy of her family's legacy. However though, as she studied air nomad philosophies, she realized that her family's legacy was the one unworthy of her. When Sister Roshan came to the Fire Nation capital as a teacher, she devoted herself to air nomad training, hoping she might gain new skills that would make her a match for Sozin. And new skills she did learn, as she not only became skilled in the fight styles of the air nomads, but because Roshan herself was a master chi blocker, she became a skilled chi blocker herself. Lastly, she was also dedicated to political maneuvering, such as planning a political marriage with the leader of the Guiding Wind, even though she loved Roshan, and Roshan loved her, vice versa. But they both realized that there were greater things than their love for one another.